Right, so welcome everybody. I'm so happy to be able to talk with you today about taking your daily routine outside. It's something that that I really feel is an important thing to do, and obviously we all can't take the kids outside every day, all day long. And some of us, we're not quite ready to do that yet, but it certainly is something that we can do more and more of as we go throughout this school year. And thinking about the pandemic and how things are happening for some of us, we're virtual, so encouraging families to spend time outside is also going to be important, especially at the beginning of the school year when the weather is really nice. Just excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. My little helpers are behind me. Then maybe you can't, but they're distracted to me. I don't know. So the things that you might think about is like, why would we want to do this? Why do we want to take the kids outside and spend time outside? We know that there's research that having children outside helps improve their vision. Now you say it like, what? How does that work? But just think about what you can see when you're inside and what you can see when you're outside. Like I'm looking outside and I can see a really long ways away. And when children are young, that vision acuity for long distances is being developed. And wow, if we don't take them outside enough, that's never going to develop properly. And so spending time outside is really important for young children, just for their vision, to develop their vision properly. Another thing that happens is children's attention span is increased. I don't know if I know my grandsons, when they're outside, they could spend, I don't know, an hour just like looking in the swamp for frogs or digging up worms or things like that. And so we know that children who have difficulty with attention span, sometimes when they're outside, that sort of dissipates because there is so much outside so many sensory experiences outside for them. And so that's another reason to take children outside. Another benefit is that it reduces stress. I can say this for myself anecdotally that when I'm stressed, this is what I do. I come outside. I might walk, out in the yard, or we just happen to have chickens. You might have heard the roosters crowing earlier.
I definitely heard that.
So I know that reduces my stress when I'm feeling that way, just to be outside. And then another thing that we know that we don't think about very often is that when we're outside, it provides us with vitamin D, which is essential for our bodies and essential for children's growth. So those are just a few of the health benefits. There are obviously more that I thought we might highlight as reasons why it's important to make sure children have time outside. And
go ahead.
Do you have any questions?
Anytime you have questions, you're welcome to put that in the chat. Both Carolyn and I will check the chat box periodically, so you're welcome to put anything that you have or any comments that you have about our session in that little box. Can I hop on to what you're saying, Carolyn?
Yes, of course.
So I think some other great benefits to having time outside. Children are more apt for movement. We're not restricted by walls outside, obviously. And if you have a great backyard or space for children to explore, I think the movement, just the gross motor activity, obviously is increased outside. One thing I think on the teacher's aspect for taking the children outside, and actually the children's aspect too, is organizational skills, because it's kind of a wide open space. They kind of have to think in their head, what's my plan outside? How am I going to go through this plan? What closure will I have for this plan? So having the mindset of organizational skills, being outside, is something. Appreciation of nature. I think we all can appreciate that aspect of spending time outside. As I asked at the very beginning, what lake have you been on this summer? If you've been to a lake, I think that we because of that, we're all kind of in this appreciation of our space outside, because we've been in this quarantine situation too. I think that we've gained a larger appreciation to having time outdoors, even in our own small spaces in our backyards. One more thing is it just contributes to the general overall learning of children and adults. I know that I've personally, in this last 6 months, I've spent a great deal of time outside. It kind of helps me refocus, and I see in my own children too, you know, after being cooped up for so long, sometimes even in the winter time, just getting a breath of fresh air, taking a walk around the block or in your yard, it just kind of helps you refocus and be ready for the day. I know I start my day off, I've been training my own children too to start their day off with a walk, or I have a couple of kids that like to run in the morning too, to begin their day as well as end their day. So I think it's just great habits to be outside. Any questions? Not seeing anything here.
See any in the chat? So we can just go ahead and start talking about how to take that daily routine outside. Sound good?
That sounds great, and I'm really looking forward to this. Carolyn and I both have some great helpers here that are looking forward to participating in our session.
All right. So, I'm going to start by talking about how you would normally start your day. We can take all the parts of the day routine outside, the things we would normally do inside, we can take them outside. And so most of us start our day with a message board or a greeting time. And so the purpose of that message board or that greeting time is to sort of let kids know what's going to be different today. We all have a consistent daily routine, and so we know those things that are the same. But the things that are going to be different are the things that we want to put on the message board. Sometimes it might be materials that we've added to the outdoor space or the indoor space if you're inside. Sometimes it might be a special visitor who's coming. Sometimes it could be that we're going to go someplace different today, and we're going to spend some time maybe at a different park or a different space. So those are the things that we're going to put on our message board. And so we prepared a message board this morning as a sort of a demonstration. So Lincoln and Bennett and Emerson are going to come over. And hopefully, can you guys see the message board there? There's the message board. Hey, Linky, come here. I want to show you this message board.
I already know.
Oh, can you come here and talk to us about it? Non-participant here. Bennett's actually the one that helped me draw the message board today. He's a little bit older than a preschooler. So Emerson, can you take a look at that message board and tell me what you think the first message is? Rocks. So we drew symbols, a representation of rocks, because today we're going to be adding rocks to some baskets in our outdoor space. And we might even be using them for one of our activities today. And then the second message, what do you think that one is? Cat. So Many of you may already do this, but this is a letter link, and that's my letter link. I'm Carolyn Cat. And so Carolyn Cat is going to be the teacher for today. And so those are our two messages for today. As you move through, you know, how kids are developing, how your children are growing, you may have words added to your message. Even the children could add some of the words to the message if you want them to. So that's how we did our message board this morning.
Carolyn?
Yeah, Leslie, do you want to share yours?
Yes, my helper is here, and we have also taken a message board outside. I wanted to tell teachers that they have these great whiteboard, I'm not sure what you call them, paddles at the Dollar Tree that we found a couple of weeks ago. And so I've been using these even in meeting with teachers to show them that there's some things like the whiteboard that you can use visually on a screen as well as bring them outside, and they're super easy to hold. So my helper right here is my niece, my 5-year-old niece, Senna. Senna, can you say hi? She's here helping me today. We're outside. And I have a message board as well that I will hold up with a paddle. And Senna, we have the first message here. Message number, what number is that?
1.
Number 1. And what does it look like? What's this?
Sun.
Sun. Yep. Today we are in Charlevoix, and today it looks like it's going to be a sunny day. So that's our first message. What number is this?
2.
2. We have 1 and 2. Message number 2. Can you kind of tell with my drawing what that is and what we might be doing today outside? Don't know. Okay. Well, I'll show it to the team over here. So my message is very similar to Carolyn's message. We just have rocks on our mind today. Senna will be doing a small group activity outside that includes rocks and a paintbrush, and I'm going to bring out some water. And here, this is the paddle that I'm using. Okay. All right, Carolyn.
Hey, thanks, Leslie. So another part of the day that you will always have is a small group time. Really important part of the day. We all love group time. It's a time where we as teachers initiate, we start an activity for children, we have a goal in mind, we have an objective in mind, and we're keeping all the elements of active learning in place, but with a plan. And so my activity today has to do with rocks. And so to keep in mind, to remind us all what active learning is about, it's making sure that children have materials, they have opportunity to manipulate those materials, they have choice, there's opportunities for child language and thought, that's really important, and then there's a place for adult scaffolding and support as well. Okay, so that's active learning. I'm going to sort of adjust this a little bit so that we can see what's happening maybe with the kids. Maybe we can. Here. All right. About that. Okay, so Linky, you want to come up here? No? Let's come over here. So what we have today, the kids went out and collected some rocks from the driveway, and then I had some rocks in the house already. I'm going to show them what the rocks are like. And so the activity today is to use parts of the scientific process, and we're going to be sorting the rocks. We're going to look at them. So we're going to start with observation. We're going to sort the rocks, do some classification, and then at the end, to follow up or to sort of extend the activity, we can communicate what we can communicate what we've discovered or what we're doing after we've sorted the rocks. So I don't know if you want to take a second and do a little bit of sorting and maybe tell us what you're discovering.
Okay.
What do you think, Bennett?
So I'm gonna put all the really big rocks in this basket, like this one, and then really small ones in this one.
Bennett, you're sorting your rocks by size. Yeah. How's it going for you, Emerson?
I'm gonna put the smooth rocks in this one.
So you're sorting smooth rocks out?
And bumpy? Yeah.
And then bumpy rocks or rough rocks are going in a different basket?
Yeah.
All right, cool. It looks like Bennett's going to join you in that sorting too. What you, Lincoln, do you want to do any sorting? You want to sort the same way? So Lincoln's going to sort the same way as his brothers. Cool. All right. Leslie?
Yep. You ready for me to share my small group activity?
I am.
Okay.
So later on.
So let me, we're gonna switch gears here while Carolyn's helpers are still sorting. I'm gonna include my helper, and I'm gonna put headphones on her so you can hear her voice. Okay. So for my small group activity, my helper Senna we've been here in Charlevoix for the last couple of days, and she's been really also been into rocks, because the beach that we go to here has about a foot of rocks and sand. So yesterday we did some collecting of rocks and we put them in a bag. And so she was interested in that. And so what I brought out for her today is a tray of rocks.
Some of these are fossils.
So I brought out a paintbrush. What else do we have here, Senna?
Sticks.
We've got some sticks. And I'm going to give her a bowl, and I'm going to put some water in the bowl, okay? All right. I'm going to give her the paintbrush. What do you think you want to do with that? We've got sticks here. We've got a variety of rocks, beautiful rocks. We've got some water, all in a tray. What do you think you want to do with it?
What about paint?
Remember, there's water in here. You want to use this maybe and see? Remember when we went out to the beach the other day and the rocks were really wet? You want to tell us about what you're doing? You want to share what you're doing? Okay, what are you doing?
I'm painting them so they are wet.
You're painting the rocks so they're wet.
Because some rocks, when they're wet, they look different colors.
So you're seeing that some rocks, when they're wet, they look like they have different colors.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, when it was dry, what's happening to this one right now?
It's turning a little orange.
It's turning orange. Let's see what else you got. So this one is really, wow, this one really turned orange. So I've just provided a very simple activity, literally things that we have all picked up outside in the last couple of days. It doesn't even, you don't even need to be on a beach. Carolyn said that she picked up her rocks right on her driveway. But literally I have 3 things that are very easy materials to find outside, loose parts if you wish. We found some sticks too, a number of sizes of rocks, and just a bowl of water. One thing that we added that we kind of found around, it just happened to be in my bag, was this really cool bug magnifying glass box. And one of the children that were actually my son found a really cool Cheerio looking rock that we put in here. So you can keep going with that, Seta, while Carol and I keep talking. What's happening now?
It's turning a little more orange.
It's turning orange.
Ooh.
Orange when you first started?
A little lighter orange.
It was a little lighter orange. Here so that our teacher friends can see what you're doing.
Really cool.
What do you think about this one? This one is dry right now. What do you think will happen to that one? What's happening to that one?
I don't know.
You don't know. It looks a little wet now.
It looks like this one might change.
Okay. Oh, can I show that? Can I show our teacher friends what you just referred to? So she said some rocks like this one might change. What do you mean by that?
Like when you make them wet, they might change different colors.
Okay, so when you make them wet, they might change different colors. Carolyn, I'm seeing some comments in the chat. Do you mind checking? Carolyn, I think you're muted. Sorry.
So Courtney was asking about suggestions for engaging parents and teaching the importance of outside play to parents. That's a great question. And I really believe that we can help empower parents to understand the same things that we're talking about. I think that if you share with parents some activities like this that you could do outside, some of the reasons why it's good to be outside, I think that parents will be happy to take their children outside. We have to keep in mind that everyone doesn't have a great space. Like I feel really fortunate to have a nice big outside space right at my home, but so encouraging families to think about what resources they do have, what space they have, what parks are nearby. I think that's also something that you can help families with and kind of be their coach for this. I think that as we move into this time where we're going to be engaging more with families, that's one of the things that we can really focus on. What do you think, Leslie?
I completely agree with what you just said. I think that not everybody is fortunate to have an outdoor space. This is, like I said, I'm up north right now and we don't have a huge backyard space. There's a very small front yard space and we're literally just on a bistro table under a big tree. So, and I've gathered just some things that I've picked up on the beach here. So I really don't think that you need a huge space to just be outside. Like I said, we're just on a very small 2-seater bistro table that her and I are just sitting at while outside. I had to move because the sun was in my face and I wasn't seeing anything at all. So I had to adjust my outside presentation space. All right. Should we move on, Carolyn, to the next?
Yeah, I think so.
My helper is still working on her small group activity, so that's great.
All right, that's perfect. All right, so the next part of the day we want to talk about was large group time. And again, large group time, we're going to incorporate all the elements of active learning. And so it's going to look very much the same. There's just a lot more space for us to do outside do activities where we're moving around a lot when we're outside. So I think it's a real advantage, even if you're not going to spend the day outside, you take your large group time outside. So the activity that we picked for today, I chose it because the kids have been here before and they've gone on parades. Now it's been a little while since that's actually happened, and so these guys were a little bit younger. It does look like an egg. But we still have some streamers and sticks and things, and the kids would just march around and have a parade. So I don't know how enthusiastically we're going to participate in this. But if you guys want to, we can grab the sticks with the streamers on them. And I can just show you what they are. And all right, bring them over. Bring them over here, Linky. All right, so here's one of them. This one has a lot of streamers tied on it. You got one? You got some, Bennett? Emerson, show yours. That's a great one.
Those are great, Carolyn.
So just imagine that the boys are going to be parading around the yard with their streamers, and they might sing a song. They're too shy to sing for you.
Yeah. I just wanted to show the teachers that are with us. I started my small group here about 10 minutes ago. And my helper is still working on her small group activity. She's seems really engaged with painting all of the rocks with water that are on her tray. So
that's great. That's really nice. You know, as I was thinking about your small group time and how she's still working on it, at some point when children are finished with the small group time, or when you need to end it, sometimes that happens too. It's always important to let children know where those materials are going to be available. So whether you're outside or inside, I would probably tell the boys that the baskets of rocks will be available up here on the deck if they want to look at them again, and show them where those will go. Now, we don't have my outside space set up like a classroom, but we'll get to that part in a little bit.
I'm going to try to switch gears here and ask my helper if she would like to try a small group activity. I know Carolyn and I, when Carolyn and I were doing our planning session yesterday, I was telling her that my helper, Senna, was really into yoga. Senna, do you want to come stand up? Do you want to just take a couple of minutes and stand over here? Okay, she's willing to do this. Actually, will you stand right there? Okay. We were talking about, you probably can't hear, but I can hear. We were talking about yoga the other day. Since we're outside, I'm thinking of some yoga stretches. Is there a yoga stretch that you'd like to do for like our large group time? Okay. Well, what pose are you thinking about? You're going to do a downward dog? Okay. She sounds like she wants to do a downward dog, and So this is easily adaptable for outside, and I think it's great to do these kinds of activities outside just to give kids more space. I hear her doing, you probably don't hear her, but I hear her doing her breathing. And of course I would not be here with my headphones. I would be participating with her. Oh, thank you for sharing. Is there another yoga pose that you're thinking of? I'm kind of seeing like a lot of nature out here. Is there a pose that, maybe tree pose? Okay. How do you feel? You feel good. Okay. Thank you for sharing. I'm really pleased that you shared that with us. Oh, you're still. All right. You want to come back and sit down? All right, Carolyn, should we check the chat? Thank you, Senna, for sharing that.
So yeah, we have a question about running children who might have some challenging behaviors. So what do you do? I think it would be the same as when you're inside. You're going to do your best to engage those children in the activity. If you are outside with children, chances are pretty good there'll be two of you. And so you have to obviously rely on each other to make sure that you don't have a runner that happens. Sometimes you need to help define the space, and that's okay too. You can bring carpet squares or something outside, or whatever, whatever kind of activity you're doing. Parachute kinds of activities sort of help ground children. They have something to hold on to. So just planning ahead and thinking about those things, you will know your children.
Yes, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking that if you do bring your class outside, that one of the things that you'll have to talk with children about are just kind of some, just some safety rules that you have to have before going outside, and just reiterating those throughout the time you are outside and each day prior to going outside. I think just having those safety rules at the very beginning is just going to be very helpful.
All right, great. Okay, so that rooster just loves it when I talk. He always crows when I talk. So I was thinking about large group time and ending the large group time, but also at the beginning of large group time, sometimes it's important to have some sort of an activity to gather everyone together, especially if you're outside. Kids love to be outside, and we love to be outside, but gathering them together is still an important thing to do. So some sort of easy to join kind of activity is sometimes helpful. One that comes to mind that I've seen used real successfully is just having a bubble wand with you and just start blowing bubbles, or just start singing a song that the children know and have them join in, a song where they have some participation in it. Helps draw the children in and bring them together. And the other thing is to always, outside or inside, always have those group times in the same place, or at least start in the same place. So let's say my group is outside, and this is where this table that I'm at is where we always have our small group. We're always going to start here, so children know where to go, and that consistency remains the same whether we're outside or inside. So anyway, I just wanted to remind everyone about that as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to the big chunk of our day. That's the plan, do, review section of the day. And planning time and recall time. Obviously, we can do the same kinds of things that we would do inside. they're just going to be planning around different types of activities, different looking interest areas. And so as we keep that in mind, that children still need the same types of activities, the same learning needs to take place outside or inside. So we need to have the same interest areas outside as we do inside. And that's where we can think more broadly, think a little differently about how we arrange those areas, what materials we might put in those areas. And it may require a little bit more advanced planning, especially at the beginning as we're figuring out what materials are working well outside. So I keep looking across the deck there because the boys had a wagon on the deck, and they're taking it down the steps, and they did a really great job of problem solving that. They worked together, so I think everyone's safe and the wagon's okay. Anyway, so making sure that you have materials that support the different interest areas. For instance, the house area, taking that outside, having a place where you have sand, having a space for water is going to be important, and making sure that you have all those materials, pots and pans and scales and dress up clothes. All of those things can go outside just as easily as they're inside. If there are certain things that you don't think are weatherproof that you don't want to leave outside, you know, a wagon or baskets or whatever you have to help transport those materials at the beginning and end of your time outside will be helpful.
I think having house area is one of the easiest learning areas to have outside, just because it's so conducive to bringing in lots of, as you will, loose parts, finding things around your home or at the dollar store, things like stainless steel bowls that you can easily find at a resale shop or your mother's basement. You know, I've gotten a lot of things from basements in my family. And then they already have the materials there a lot of the times. When I bring bowls outside, my kids often pick up grass to put in bowls. Sometimes they'll put rocks, they'll put dirt. I saw somebody wrote in chat mud kitchen. Outdoor kitchen, yes, that's definitely something that we would highly advocate for when you do use outside space. It's so easy to just collect things from inside and bring them out and leave them outside.
Yep, absolutely. Keeping in mind you need to have a space for art as well outside. And there are some pieces of equipment that are kind of expensive that, you know, we might not be able to purchase for outside art, like an outside easel. But if you have a fence, you can clothespin paper to a fence. You can lay things on the ground. You can, you know, there are lots of other things you can do, ways to get art outside. Making sure, again, like all those things that are on our PQAR materials list need to be outside if that's where you're having your work time, is outside. The block area seems pretty easy to me. Having blocks and things to build with outside provides a bigger space too if you wanted to do something where you have wood glue or some screws or nails and hammers and screwdrivers. Different things like that are easily used outside as well. Games can also go outside. Toys that you would have inside can go outside. So
onto your art area, Carolyn.
Yeah.
So my helper was done with her rock painting with water, and she decided that she wanted to use watercolor. I do want to add, so she's here with some watercolor paints, and she has a little palette out here. I had a little box that had all of my materials that I thought she could use outside, and so she went and grabbed the watercolor because it looks like she was ready to do something different. I do want to say having art outside is great. cleanup is so easy.
Absolutely.
That's a great benefit to doing art outside. I love having the opportunity to just kind of wipe things off the table and just have it fall to the ground and the rain washes it away. So I even without having 4 and 5-year-old children at home, I still bring my art outside. Glitter never comes into my house anymore. That's always an outside activity. So just thinking of it in that way. It might be a lot of organizational strategies for you as a teacher to bring these things outside, but cleanup is so easy, I feel, with doing things outside.
Agreed. Okay, so I think we've covered all the different parts of the day. We've talked about the outside space and what it could look like if you're going to do your work time outside as well. I think there are a few comments in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some great ideas in the
Yeah.
comments is what I'm seeing. So washing furniture and toys, love that idea. If you ever need some of that marker washed off of your tables, bringing some sponges outside, some spray bottles, and that chair that might have a lot of paint on it would be a great idea. Any of the toys that the children had inside that need to be cleaned, I think is awesome too. I see fly swatters. Carly Morris says fly swatters and water play. What a great idea. I love that, and it's so easy. Just two basic tools, bringing outside, pull wide ribbons through a fence for art. That's great too. What do you think of that, Carolyn?
Yeah, so I think I might have done that at one time. Do some weaving, use the fence as your as part of the weaving, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You can get those pieces of ripstop from Scrapbox, and those work really well outside. That's what our streamers were made of as well. Yeah,
Totally. We have a question here from Kelly. Any suggestions on how to get this to work for multiple classes using the space outside?
So I guess it depends on how big your space is. So if you have a big enough space, you could be outside at the same time. If you don't have a big enough space, you would obviously have to take turns doing that. So you'd have to schedule your days around each other a little bit so that, you know, I'm using the work time space for this hour, and you're using it for this hour, and another class is using it for that hour. So it would take some coordination and scheduling. Can you hear that rooster?
Yes.
Distracting to me.
Yes. Carolyn and I recognize that you can't possibly bring, and maybe some of you are fortunate to bring the entire daily routine outside, and that's really awesome, and that's great that you can do that. But we also recognize that some of our centers and areas do not have large wide open space, and maybe you do have multiple classes. So working around people's schedules and, you know, taking one part of the day outside is great, and or, you know, taking, you know, the plan do review outside for a portion of the week is great too. I mean, I think you just have to be flexible and work with your other teachers in the building, or maybe you are in a place where you can you're the only classroom and you can spend the entire morning of your daily routine outside, and that's great.
Yeah. So there's one more question about each class having their own materials. That's something you'd have to work out in your center with your program. There are obviously some things you're going to be able to just leave outside. So if you're sharing a space, those would be left outside. In this time that we're in right now, where we're concerned about cleaning materials and children, you know, having enough space for things, you would have to take those things into consideration also, as far as cleaning things and making sure that children have space to play. Okay, so unless there are more questions, I think we should I think time is passing, Leslie.
Yes, I think we're about a couple minutes for closure here.
Yeah. So as we've just talked about, planning is something that you'll obviously need to do. So thinking about what you have already and what you will need. And as you think about how it's going to work, think about the barriers, the problems that you might encounter, how you might address those. And then also figuring out as a team where you could find some help or support. So thinking about those 4 things, what you have, what you need, addressing your barriers or your difficulties, and where you can get help are going to be important as you plan for taking your daily routine outside. In addition, there are also some practical considerations. If you're going to go outside all day, you're going to have to think about what are you going to do for rest time, and you're going to have to think about outdoor clothing. You know, what happens when the weather is not great? You know, do you have the right things for children to wear, and where can you get those? And how could you fund that? You have to have a place to do your meals and snacks outside. And also you'd have to make sure that you have balance with you and the children. It may not be possible for you to spend the entire day outside. So having a nice balance of outside time and inside time.
I agree. So we hope that, if anybody's got any questions, somebody says, hey, Bennett.
Remember Miss Carrie Carpenter? Yeah, Bennett says hi.
If anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat. If not, Carolyn and I thank you for attending our session. We also thank our helpers. Thanks to Carolyn's grandchildren there, Rooster. And thanks to my helper right here who's still working on her small group activity. This is great. Carolyn and I do have some resources that we can share out with you. We have some articles that we're happy to share with you. We'll try to put those on the Facebook page or get those sent to you somehow. And if you are interested in pursuing outside daily routine and have more questions, you are welcome to contact Carolyn and or I, and we are happy to talk to you about how we can get this going. Thanks for everyone for coming.
Thank you all.
All right, have a great day.
Bye.
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 You want to say bye, Senna?
Bye.
Oh, there's Carrie. Hi, Carrie.